Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I am sitting in my living room in a bit of a mess, actually. My winter gear bag has exploded. It's been freezing cold here in Alberta for the last few weeks, minus 20, minus 30, reaching even minus 40 degrees with the wind factor over the last few weeks. So I haven't been riding. So I took the opportunity to clear out my gear bag and wash some of the things that tend to get a little bit ripe from wearing. So everything is clean now, and I'm getting ready hopefully to go for a ride tomorrow. So I'm going to repack my bag. While I'm doing this, I thought maybe I would share with you what I wear and what I carry with me in my gear bag when I ride in the winter. I know when I first started riding, winter riding, I was a little bit overwhelmed. I didn't know how much clothes I needed, how many layers I needed, what gear I needed, what would be a bonus, what would just be an extra, what was a necessity. So I'll share with you what I bring and what I carry when I ride in the winter, and maybe that'll give you some ideas if you're looking to get started in winter riding. Before that though, obviously everyone is different. Everyone runs a little hotter, a little colder just to begin with. So a lot of this is subjective, and it really is trial and error. If you're riding in Alberta, what you're going to need to ride in the winter on the snow in sub-zero temperatures, climbing mountains, is going to be very different than probably what you need riding more flat terrain in the prairies, or if you're winter riding still on dirt on the west coast. So keep that in mind, that where you're riding, the temperatures you're riding really obviously make a big difference. But not only that, the type of trails that you ride I think really make a big difference. Here in Alberta, most of our trails start with a punchy incline. So even though I tend to be freezing cold in the parking lot, within about 5 or 10 minutes of a climb, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm taking off layers. So factor that in. Some days you're going to need more clothes depending on the trail that you're riding, how long you're going to be out, and what the temperature is, whether there's wind or not. So I'll start with what I wear when I go for a ride. And I tend to ride anywhere in the winter. It could be 0 degrees, or it could be, kind of my limit is kind of minus 15 Celsius. I don't tend to ride when it's much colder than that. So I always wear a top base layer. And so I wear kind of a very light merino cami, sorry. And so this is my base layer. I love this, and I always wear it. On top of that, I wear the lightest base layer, wool base layer that I can find. And I shop a lot at Mountain Equipment Co-op, so I wear this on top of my cami. If it's colder, then I don't know, maybe minus 10, I might have another layer on top of that. But generally, most rides, my very light cami, my very light wool base layer, and when I say very light, it's the lightest that I can find. I don't know how many grams it is. And then on top of that, I wear kind of the soft shell, like this. On the bottom, also Mountain Equipment Co-op, I wear these soft shell pants. They have a light fleece inside, but very light. I don't usually wear base long johns, but if it's going to be much colder than, like minus 12, minus 13, minus 14, minus 15, then I might wear a light base layer. Or if I'm going to be out in the backcountry and riding, kind of like an all-day ride, then I might wear a base layer under my soft shell pants. So that's my clothing that I wear. Hands, which my hands always tend to be cold, because they are the part of me that tends to sweat the most. So it's hard for me to know if my hands are cold because of the air temperature, or if my hands are cold because they've gotten damp and now my gloves are damp, and so that's making my hands feel cold. I haven't sorted out the hand thing very well yet, but this is what I wear so far. I invested last winter in a base layer glove. This goes underneath my insulated glove. And then that is covered by my bar mitts. So if you don't know what bar mitts are, these slide onto your handlebars. Mine are, I think they're neoprene, and they just add an extra layer of insulation and protection against the wind. I ride with my bar mitts all winter long, any temperature. They're kind of a necessity for me. I would maybe even consider not riding if I forgot them. So these ones I take on and off after every ride because I carry my bike on a bike rack on the back of the truck. And so traveling over the highway, they would get destroyed with the sand and the mud and the snow if they were exposed to an hour highway drive every time I rode. I'm pretty sure they would be destroyed. So I have opted not to install them on permanently. I put them on and take them off every ride. But you have the option of just keeping them on your bike, installing them, and not having to worry about packing them and carrying them with you all the time. So that's the hands. On the bottom of my legs, I wear gaiters. I don't know if you know if you don't know what gaiters are, these are like little nylon sleeves that slide onto your calves, attached with a Velcro. They have this little piece that goes under your boot, under your foot, and they protect you from getting snow inside your boot and up your pant. Gaiters, always wear them. What else? Buff. Always start with a buff and carry an extra buff with me usually, because what tends to happen is because of breathing heavily when you're working hard, it tends to get damp. And so sometimes I find when it's time to start the descent, this part of me is already kind of damp, wet, and cold. So I usually wear a light, and this is wool, like a merino wool, light buff. The heavier ones, like the big, thicker fleece ones, because of the kind of trails I'm riding, I find I get too hot with that. So I choose the lighter buff. Head, two options depending on the temperature. A very light buff, kind of like a runner's buff, where it doesn't really have any insulation factor really, but it covers your head and covers your ears. Or on colder days under my helmet, I would choose the thicker wool toque. And so sometimes I start with this one on the climb, and I carry this in my pack knowing that the descent is going to be windier. I'm going to be warmer by then. I'm probably going to have sweated by then. I'm going to feel a little cool, and having that extra layer of warmth on my head makes a difference. What else? Water bottle. I don't have a cage on my fat bike, and so I invested in a bag. This was the biggest bag that would fit on the inside of my frame on my particular bike. I would suggest, if you don't have a water cage or can't fit a water cage, that you kind of look for one of these. I found this pretty cheap on Amazon actually. And because I don't have a cage, I needed somewhere to fit my water bottle in. This actually fits, it's just there's things in there that are getting in the way right now, such as warmers, hand warmers and toe warmers, and snacks. I have snacks in every pocket of every jacket, of every pouch, of every bag that I have. So that goes on my frame. Then I always have something to drink with me to keep hydrated, although I don't tend to drink very much when I ride in the winter, but it's good to have with you, obviously. That kind of covers what I wear. Oh, boots. I'll back up a little bit. None of my gear really, aside from like the pogies, the bar mitts, is actually bike specific, to be honest with you. When I got my fat bike, I wasn't sure how much I was going to love it. I wasn't sure how much I was going to ride, and I was really actually reluctant to spend a lot of money on gear that might not get a lot of use or wasn't needed. So most of my gear isn't actually bike specific, but it's worked fine for me, including my boots. So these are new boots. The boots I was wearing before, they weren't keeping my feet warm. My toes were freezing, and on the drives home, I was suffering. So I just bought these, and what I looked for when I was looking for a pair of boots was I liked the fact that this is kind of plastic. The last pair I was wearing got totally destroyed from my pedals. They were getting ripped because they were fabric. So I really liked the idea that this was hard and plastic. I liked that it was a fairly flat sole, and I liked that they were short. I like the feeling of being able to kind of have some mobility in my foot and my ankle, and shorter just work better for me. These are insulated, I think, to supposedly -20 or -30. So that's what I wear on my feet. In my pack, before we talk about my pack, helmet, obviously. I use the same helmet in the winter that I used to ride in the summer. I don't think there's any need really for a special winter helmet. The thing to keep in mind though, last year this little piece of my helmet broke because I don't think it's kind of really made to be outside in -15, -20 degrees. And the other thing to keep in mind is you want to have enough room in whatever helmet you're wearing to allow for a head cover, a toque of some kind, or something at least to cover your ears. Inside my pack, again, nothing special. I actually really need a new pack, but use the same pack that I carry in the summer. It's pretty small. Actually wouldn't mind getting a little bit of a bigger pack just so that I can carry an extra layer or two in the winter when I ride. I do tend to probably carry more than a lot of people carry when they ride in the winter. When I look around at the people I'm riding with, I seem to be more geared up than a lot of people. I wasn't raised in the mountains, so I still think I have a little bit of healthy respect for how things can go sideways in the mountains, how you can get injured unexpectedly, run into an unexpected mechanical and have to walk out, and how quickly hypothermia can set in. So I tend to err on the side of probably bringing more than I need in the event that any one of those things happens. I'm covered and can stand the extra few hours it might take for me to get out on foot or to wait for help to come. So inside my pack, I carry or I wear a shell. This is a very light Gore-Tex shell. It's the same shell I wear in the summer to protect me from rain when I'm riding. Depending how windy it is or how cold it is, on top of my soft shell jacket, I wear this, or I at least have it in my pack so that on the descents, again, when it tends to feel colder, I have another piece to add. Air pump, multi-tool, medical kit, medical pack. The other thing that I purchased last winter was a water cover for my pack because I was out on a ride. It was snowing fiercely and everything inside of my pack, including my extra layers, got soaked. And so if there's a heavy snowfall coming down, I just slide this on top of my pack. My pack isn't water repellent, and it just gives a little bit of extra protection for everything that's inside of my pack. What else is in here? More snacks. Every pocket has snacks. My inhaler, and more snacks and Kleenex. What else? Very cold days where, again, I'm worried that I might not be wearing enough or that it's going to be a long day. I might throw in an extra layer, an extra shirt, an extra top layer, or I might throw in my vest into my pack. And so even though my pack is pretty small, I think it's the smallest pack that you can find, backpack that you can find, It's amazing how much stuff that I'm able to squeeze in there. And so I tend to be pretty covered for myself or for anyone who is riding with me. So I hope that helps you make some decisions about what to wear if you're just starting to ride in the winter, or what to carry with you. If you have any comments, please share. If you have any questions, message me if I can answer, and if I can help, I'm glad to do that. So happy riding. Bye.